Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam 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 Vande Guru Shri Charanara Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Niramarjanado Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Swatmana Triptam Hari Bhakta Sangha Kridvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shiradikama Davayara Para Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Swa Danalalupasa Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Ne kunjayuno Ratikeli Siddhai Jayalibhir apekshaniya ne kunjayo pratikerisi tatrati daksha atibalabhasya vande guru shri charanaro vrindam Sachadharitena Shamasta Shashri Ruktastatthava Gataiva Sadhavi Sachadharitena Shamasta Shashri Pintu Praborja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutam Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Ine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shurnavadi Pachatari Shata Rine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, oh, Hare Krishna, oh, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh, oh, Hare Rama, oh, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaye Kesavaye Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shrimadu Sudam Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Vatara Guna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasara Guna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Go Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Jai Vishnu Par Paramahansa Prabhupada Astottara Sarasishya Maharaj Divine Grace Abhachar Vinu Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shira Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishta Bhiviti Samstapakachar Vaishnav Siramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patiti Udhara Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattar Gunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sadgus Swami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय परम दयाल से नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन श्रीमान गुरु श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि मावरण अवतार की जय गोलोकेर प्रमधानी नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय जोग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय बृहद मिदांग ट्वेंशन तुर्बुक सेव की जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपना राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय श्री ब्रज वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय तिलोचि नीलमाधव की जय श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप चक्रधाम की जय परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम चित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जी की जय भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कर श्रृंगारे भगवान की जय जय गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय Shri Mathura Dharani ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaurari Pramanande Haribo. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru. Shri Gauranga Hari.
Should I start? Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilatanka nakalaye. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yato yato yamitato Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapadye. Tava Kamalavari Nakam Advuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol.
Preyasi Namo Namah
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo
Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Iya Bilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Eya Vilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Iya Bilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Eya Vilasi
जे तोमार शरण लोय तारा वांछ पूर्ण होय
Taravanja
એ નિવેદના ધરો સખીરાનું કોરો સેવાદી કરો દિયે કરો નિજ દાસી દીના કૃષ્ણ દાસ કોઈ એ નમો રાહોય શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદા પ્રેમે સદાય નભાસી શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદા પ્રેમે સદાય નભાસી નમો નમઃ તુલસી કૃષ્ણ પ્રેયસી નમો નમઃ यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prani Devi Satavatai Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prani Devi Satavatai Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prani Devi Satavatai Namaha. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of his wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavitayam Jesufraj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me on my servant. Please very fallen and holy servant of Krishna praise. May I always sing in love Shri Radha, oh Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Kam Ki Jai Dodapanam Madhu Bhavamadavam Nirvapanam Shri Yakar Vachan Jita Vikaranam
Vidyavadu
Ananda Buddhivarnanam Adipalam Pugnamata Shadhanam Sarvatmasnam Shri Krishna Samanidhanam Nanakari Vandhan Ina Sarvashakti Tattravitanyam Tasmarina Kara Yada Vishita Bhakita Pramanapi Vidaya Krishna Niradhina Nanuragana Vinadapi Srijena Tarorapi Sahishna Manina Manadina Kitaniya Sadahari Naganam Naganam Nasundari Kavitambara Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhakti Bhakti Raituki Tvai Nijakinkaram Patitamam Busami Bhavam Budau Kripaya Tava Pada Pankajastaduli Satisami Chintaya Nayanam Galora Shudharaya Vadanam Gadagada Vidaya Gira Ulakaya Chitam Bapukara Tavanama Grahani Bhavisati Yugaitam Nimishena Chakusha Pravisaitam Sunyaitam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Vedahe Nami Asli Sabapagaratam Pinashtuma Kadarshana Mamavatam Karotuma
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Namaste Bhutali Smati Bhakti Virata Swami Pranami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvisesa Sunivani Paskati. Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which you are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O mighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of these islands at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Vani Pacharini Visesa Sanyavani Paskati Satani.
There are no translation matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that must be avoided. They are as follows. 1.
To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their lives to propagating holy names of the Lord.
2.
To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the names of Lord Vishnu.
3.
To disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
4.
To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version.
5.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination.
6.
To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
7.
To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord.
8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as
One of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activities of karma kanda.
9.
To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
And 10.
To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa tarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pacharani Nirvisesa Sunyavani Paskati Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yato Nivayad Itaratascha Tesva Vigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muyanti Atsudayaha Tejo Varimadam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mesha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva,
O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva,
O all-pervading personality of Godhead,
O all-pervading personality of
I
God,
offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto you.
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute
and the
truth,
primeval cause of all
and the
causes,
primeval cause of all causes,
of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes.
of the creation, sustenance, destruction, and manifested universe.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all
He is
manifestations.
directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
And he is independent because there is no other cause
And
beyond
he is
him.
independent because there is no other cause.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji,
It is the only who first imparted the knowledge into the heart
the
of
original
the
living
original
being.
living being.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into
By
illusion,
him, even the great sages and demigods are present to
as
illusion.
one is bewildered by the illusory
As
representations
one is bewildered by the illusory
of water
representation
seen on fire or land seen on water.
of waters in the fire of lands and
Only
water.
because of him do the material universes,
Only because of him do the material universe,
temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction to the three modes
appear
of nature,
factual although they are unreal.
appear factual, although
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri
who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent in transcendental
which is
world,
forever free from the illusory representations of the material world.
which is forever free from illusory representation of material
I
world.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute
I
truth.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute
Dharma
truth.
projita kaitravocha
Dharma prajita katavuta.
paramo nimatsaranam satam
Paramo nimasarana.
vedyam vastavam atra vastu
Vedyam vastavam
shivadam tapa trayomunam
Shivadam tapo trayam.
Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamani Krite
Shrimad Bhagavate
Kim
Mahamani
Vaparir Ishvaraha
Vaparishvara.
Sadyo Hridi Avurudyate Tra
Sadhurudya Varudyate
Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshanat.
Pritibhi Shushushabhishta.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
Completely rejecting all religious activities.
This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest
This
truth,
Bhagavad Purana propounds
which
the
is
high truth,
understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those devotees of
The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
The highest truth, their reality distinguished from religion from wealth.
Such truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Such a truth uproots the threefold misery.
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by great sage Vyasadeva in maturity
is sufficient in itself for God realization.
is sufficient itself for God.
What is the need of any other
What is
scripture?
the need of the other
As
scripture?
soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
by this culture of knowledge,
culture of
the
knowledge,
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
the Supreme Lord is established.
Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam,
Nigama kalpataror galitam
sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam, pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam,
Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam.
muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam,
So actually, and thoughtful men relish my Bhagavatam.
the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic
The
literature.
mature fruit, the desired tree.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva
It
Goswami.
emanated from the lips of Shishukadeva.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasty.
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for
Although
all,
its nectarian juice was all relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including the
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Shrivantam Swakata
Punya
Krishna,
Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Hridyantak Stohi Bhadrani,
Hridyantastu
Vidunoti Shuhit Satam.
Vidunoti Suhit
To hear
Satam.
about Krishna from Vedic literatures,
To hear about Krishna from the Vedic
or to
Lord,
hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from it directly
is itself righteous activity.
it is self-righteous.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for one who hears about
Lord Krishna is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna dwelling within everyone's
acts as a
heart,
best wishing friend,
acts as the best
and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of
and
him.
purifies the devotee constantly engages in hearing.
Nastapresu Bhadresu
Nasta Praisha Bhadreshu,
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Seva,
Bhagavati Utamasoke
Bhagavati
Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki.
In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge.
In this way, devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental
As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
As he hears more about Krishna from the
and
Bhagavad,
from the devotees,
from the
he becomes
devotees.
fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
he becomes fixed in devotional service.
Tadarajastamo bhava
Tarajastamo bhava,
kamalobhadayaschaye
kamalobhadaya,
chaitaytaranavidam
chaitaytaranavidam,
stitvam sattve prasidati.
tam sarve prasidi.
By development of devotional service,
By development of
one
devotional
becomes
service,
freed from the modes of passion and
one becomes
ignorance,
free from the mode of
and
passion,
thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
and thus material lust and avarice are
Evam prasana manasu
Evam prasana manasa,
bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat
yogataha,
tattva vijnanam
bhagavat tattva
mukta
vijnana,
sangasya jayate.
mukta sangasya
When these
jayate.
impurities are wiped away,
When these impurities are
the
wiped,
candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness,
the candidate remains steady in position of
becomes
goodness,
enlivened by devotional
becomes
service,
alive by devotional
and
service,
understands the science of God perfectly.
and understands the science of God perfectly.
Vidyate hridaya kantis
Vidyate hridaya grantis,
chidyante sarvasamsaya
chidyante sarvasamsaya,
siyante chasya karmani
chidyante sachakarmani,
drista evat manishvare.
drista evatmani shvara.
Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection
Thus the Bhakti Yoga serves the harness of material
and enables
affection,
one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram,
and enables them to come at once to the stage of assumption,
understanding of the supreme absolute truth personality of God.
understanding the supreme absolute true personality of God.
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna, from his devotees and Krishna
can
consciousness,
one understand the science of Krishna.
can one understand the science of
Shri
Krishna.
Shri Guru Vastika prayers ki jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it.
The spiritual master receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire.
So,
extinguishes it.
so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence.
So the spiritual master delivers the material afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence.
From my respectful obeisance unto lotus feet is such a spiritual master who's an ocean of auspicious qualities.
From my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities.
Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments.
Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical
The
instruments.
spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya
The
Mahaprabhu,
spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan moment of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
because he's relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his heart.
Because he's relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind.
Sometimes his hair stands on end.
Sometimes his hair stands on
He
end.
feels quivering in his
He
body,
feels quivering in
and
his
tears
body,
flow from his eyes like waves.
and tears from his eyes.
I offer
like
my
waves.
respectful obeisance unto lotus feet of such a spiritual
I
master.
offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a
The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna.
spiritual master always engaged in temple worship with Shri Radha and
He
Krishna.
also engages his disciples in such worship.
He also engages disciples in such
They
worship.
dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments,
They use the deities in a beautiful cloth ornament,
clean their temple,
clean the temple,
and perform other similar worship of the Lord.
and perform other similar
For
worship.
my
to the Lord.
respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual
I offer
master.
my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a
The
spiritual
spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food.
The spiritual master always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food.
Analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked.
Analyze that which is licked, chewed, drank, and
When the
sucked.
spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasada,
When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad,
he is satisfied.
he is satisfied.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of
I
such a
offer my
spiritual
respectful
master.
obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava,
The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika
and the
Madhava,
qualities, names, and
and the
forms.
qualities, names, and
The
forms.
spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment.
The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every
I
moment.
offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of
I
such a
offer my
spiritual
respectful
master.
obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tastes or arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana.
The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis in different times, make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's loving affairs within the globe.
I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual
I
master.
offer my respectful obeisance and lotus feet of such a spiritual
The
master.
spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servitor of the Lord.
The spiritual master to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servant of the Lord.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master as a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna.
Therefore, I offer my humble obeisance unto the Lord, to the such a spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master.
Therefore, I shall always remember to praise the spiritual master.
At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of my spiritual
At least 3
master.
times a day, I should offer a spiritual obeisance to the Lord's feet of my spiritual
Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadi Raja Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam.
Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha
Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha
Lakshabrite Surabhira Vipaliyantam
Lakshya Bhutesi Surabhira Vipayantam
Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam
Lakshmi Sahasha Sata Sambrahma Sheva
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Venam Kananta Ravinda Dalayataksham
Venum Kwanantam Alavinda Daitlayata
Parhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam
Aramvata Samasitam Buddha Sundaram
Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham
Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Alola Chandrakala Sarvanamaya Vansi
Alola Chandra Kala Sarvanamalya Vamsi
Ratnam Gelam Pranaya Keli Kalavilesam
Rannam Gadam Pranaya Keli Kalavilasam
Shyamam Trimangalalitani Yataprakasam
Syamam Tribangalalitam Niyata Prakasham
Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti
Angani Yasya Sakalindriya Vrittimanti
Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti
Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti
Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya
Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigraha
Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam
Advitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarum
Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha
Adyam Purana Purusham Navajovanam
Vede Sadurlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto
Vedeshi Durlabham Adurlabham Atma
Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam
Pantastukoti
I'm sorry. Okay. Pantastukoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo
Pantastukoti Sadavatsara Sampragam
Vayoratapi Manasomuni Pungamanam
Vayoratapi Manaso Muni Pungavam
Sopyastiyat Prapadasemya Vichintya Tatve
Sogyasti Yat Prapada Sincham
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Ekopya Sora Chayatam Jagadanda Kotim
Ekopya Sura Chitum Jagadanta
Yaschaktirasti Jagadanda Chayaya Danta
Chakirasti Jagadanta Chaya
Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam
Andantarasta Paramanu Chayanta
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Yat Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva
Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manujasta Thaiva
Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusaha
Prapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana
Suktaryameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti
Shukyayameva Nigama Pratitaistu
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibha
Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakalabi
Avirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakala
Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto
Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhutto
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena
Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochane
Santak Sadeva Hidesu Vilokayanti
Santa Sadeva Videshu Vilokaya
Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam
Samasundaram Achintya Gunaswarupa
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatistan
Namadi Moti Shukalani Yamaina Tishna
Nana Makavod Bhuvanesha Kintu
Nana Vatarama Karod Bhuvaneshu Kintu
Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Parama Pumanyo
Krishna Swayam Sambhavavat Paramam Pumanyo
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti
Yasya Prabha Prabhavatu Jagananda
Kotisu Asesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Benam
Buddhi Sasesha Vibhuti
Tad Brahmanis Kalamanantam Asesha Bhutam
Brahmanis Kalamanantam Ashesha Bhutam
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami
Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti
Maya Yasya Jagananda
Kotisu Asesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Benam
Maya
I'm sorry. Maya Yasya Jagananda Satani Sute
Maya Yasya Jagananda Satani Sute
Chaigun Yatad Vishaya Veda Vitayamanam
Pregun Yatad Vishaya Veda
Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam
Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham
Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu
Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya
Yapraninam Pratifalam Smaratam Upetya
Praninam Pratipalam Smaratam Upetya
Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram
Lila Yitena Bhuvanani Jajaja
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Golokanamni Nijadamni Talecha Tasya
Golo Kanamni Nijadamni Tachisatasya
Devi Mahesa Haridama Satesu Tesu
Devi Mahesha
Tete
Haridama
Prabhava
Sutesha
Nichaya
Teshu
Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha
Ete Prabhava Nichaya Vihitacha
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Madi Purusham
Shastistati Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka
Siti Siti Pradaya Sadhana Shakti Reka
Jayeva Yasya Bhavanani Vibharti Durga
Jaye Vayasha Bhuvanani Bharti Durga
Ichana Rupam Apiyasya Chachesta Tesa
Icha Nurupa Mapiyasha Chachista
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga
Hiram Yatada Divikara Vishesha Yoga
Sanjayate Nahitata Pritagasti Heto
Sanjayate Nahitata Pitagastu
Yasambutam Apitata Samapaiti Karyat
Yasambutam Apitata Samupaita
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Deepachit Esa Hidasanta Lamabhyupetya
Deepachi Evani Satanta Ramomupetya
Deepayate Vivita Hetu Samanu Dharma
Deepayate Vivita Hetu Samana Dharma
Yastadrig Eva Hicha Vishnutaya Vibhati
Yastadi Eva Icha Yutnustaya
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajati Sma Yoga
Yakara Namba Jalibhajati Smayu
Midram Ananta Jagadanda Suroma Kupaha
Idram Ananta Jagananda Saroma Kupa
Adhara Shaktin Avalambya Param Swamurtim
Adhara Shakti Mavalam Param Samurti
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Yasyaika Nisvasitakala Matavalambya
Yashe Kaniswasita Kalam Atavalam
Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanataha
Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jaganandana
Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kala Vishesho
Vishnu Mahan Sahiya Yasha Kala Vishesh
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Basman Yatasma Sakalesu Nijesu Tejaha
Vashman Yatasma Sakaleshu Niteshu Teja
Swiyam Kiyat Prakatayat Apitadvatatra
Sriyam Kiyat Prakataya Chatapitat
Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta
Brahmaya Esha Jagananda Vidana
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha
Jatpala Parva Yugmam Vinidaya Kumbha
Dvandve Pranama Samaye Sust Ganadi Rajaha
Vendve Pranama Samani Saganadi Raja
Vignam Nihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya
Vignam Avantum Alamasya Jagat
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Agnir Mahi Gaganam Ambu Maruddisascha
Agnir Mahi Makana Ambu Marudisha
Kalastatatma Manasitti Jagatrayani
Kalas Tatadma Manasita Jagatrayani
Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha
Yasma Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vashanti Yamcha
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Yatchakshuresa savita sakala grahanam Raja samasta suramurti rasesa tejaha Yasya gaya brahmati sambrita chakra sambrita kala chakra Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Shrutayas Tapamsi Brahma Dikita Patagava Dayascha Jivaha Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrindra Gopa Matavendra Mahoswakarma Bandhanu Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Chabhakti Bhajan Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Biti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gora Vasevya Bhava Hai Sanchintyatasya Sadrisim Tanamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiyakanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kalpataravu Druma Bhumish Chintamani Gana Mayi Toyam Amritam Kata Ganam Natyam Gamanam Apivamsi Priyasaki Chid Adantam Jyoti Param Apitad Asvadyam Apicha Sayatra Shiradi Bihi Shavati Shrabhibhyas Chasu Mahan Nime Sardakyo Vavrajati Nahiyatrapi Samaya Bhaje Svita Dvipam Tamaham Iha Golakam Itiyam Vedantaste Santakshiti Viralachara Katipaye Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6. We're going to read verse 31 again, and then we'll go to 32. Narayane Bhagavati Tadidam Vishwamahitam Giheta Mayoru Guna Sargadav Aguna Swataha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All the material manifestations of the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The question put by Narada before Brahma concerning the sustenance of the material creation is thus answered. Material actions and reactions, as the material scientist can superficially observe, are not basically ultimate truth in regard to creation, maintenance, and destruction. The material energy is a potency of the Supreme Lord, which is displayed in time, accepting the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance in the forms of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. The material energy thus works under the supreme spell of his lordship, although he is always transcendental to all such material activities. A rich man constructs a big house by spending his energy in the shape of resources, and similarly, he destroys a big house by his resources, but the maintenance is always under his personal care. The Lord is the richest of the rich because he is always fully complete in six opulences. Therefore, he is not required to do anything personally, but everything in the material world is carried out by the wishes and by his wishes and direction. Therefore, the entire material manifestation is situated in Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Truth is due to lack of knowledge only. And this fact is clearly explained by Brahmaji, who is supposed to be the creator of the universal affairs. Brahmaji is the highest authority in Vedic wisdom, and his assertion in this connection is therefore the supreme information. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the material manifestations of the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. So yesterday we were discussing how Krishna is the cause and the effect. No one can claim to be the cause and the effect except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we also discussed yesterday how Einstein, supposedly the smartest person, at least in modern times, was unable to finish his formulation of unified field theory. Why is that? Because he's an atheist. Although he claims to believe in God sometimes, but his conception of God is an atheistic conception. And therefore, he was not able to do this crowning glory of all the research he did because he doesn't believe in Krishna. Krishna is the unified field theory. He is at once the cause of everything and the effect. He is the cause of all causes. He's the origin of everything, and everything emanates from him. Everything is included in him or encompassed by him, and he is present in everything by his expansion of the super soul. He was present in every atom of the material creation, and he is also absorbs the entire material creation into his transcendental body as Lord, as Mahavishnu or Narayana, and then waiting until the next expansion of the material world. So he is the Lord of the spiritual world, which is always manifest, and the material world, which is sometimes manifest and sometimes not manifest. Nothing is independent of the Lord. So this is further explained in the second canto, 5th chapter, 19th verse. And let's take a look at what it says here. It says, the Supreme Lord is pure spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities. Yet for the sake of the creation of the material world and its maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through his external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance. So everyone in the material world is basically in a state of delusion, overwhelmed by the dualities of love and hate, or they are, as it says in Bhagavad Gita, overwhelmed by these dualities of heat and cold, happiness and distress, love and hate, success and failure, riches and poverty, etc. And everyone is born into delusion, overcome by hatred. Hatred of what? Hatred of the Supreme Lord. That's why we're in the material world. We became envious of Krishna. And as soon as we become envious of Krishna, why should he be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Enjoyer, and we are his eternal servant? I want to be the Supreme Enjoyer. With those type of thoughts that enter into the mind of the living entity, immediately the living entity falls down into the material world, where the living entity can try and emulate Krishna by being a controller and exploiting things or for his own enjoyment. But the living entity will always fail. They'll have some success and then ultimately fail. And this is due to Durga Mata, who is the warden of the prison house. The material world is a prison house, where prisoners by our own deluded state of mind. And because of that, we become, although our soul is eternal, we become conditioned by birth, old age, disease, and death. And we believe that these things are natural, although they are not natural. And we're always trying to find ways to overcome old age, disease, and death, but we never find it. Just like Ponce de Leon, he left Spain on his way to discover a new route towards India, but he, just like Columbus, ran into the West Indies or the Caribbean islands, and eventually the North America. But his real purpose was to find the elixir of immortality, and he thought by landing in Florida he would find it. Well, it didn't happen. People have been looking for the elixir of immortality since the beginning of time. But the elixir of immortality is the Bhagavad Gita itself, which is the treatise of immortality, how to attain immortality easily. The easiness of it is if we accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrender unto him, and engage in his devotional service. Then, because Krishna is the master of the spiritual and material worlds, if we become his sincere servant and are trained properly by bona fide spiritual masters, Shiksha and Diksha gurus, we can overcome this state of illusion or deluded state in which we're pretending to be independent, but at every step we are controlled by the laws of material nature, birth, death, old age, and disease, by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, by the time factor, which is always destroying things, and by lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and enviousness. We are controlled by these things, and we eventually, all our efforts are for null. All our efforts for being the dominator and enjoyer become nullified by old age, disease, and death. And then we start all over again, because we have a residue of unfinished material desires, which forces us to take birth again and struggle again in the material world, in this world of competition and disloyalty and chaos, social and mental chaos. So, what is the solution to this? Well, that's why Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. So, Krishna is training us in two ways. One is by speaking Bhagavad Gita and empowering those persons who are wise enough to surrender to him to be able to preach this knowledge of immortality. And two, through the efforts of Durga, who rewards people material benefits and then takes it away from them and smashes them, ultimately with old age, disease, and death. So this is a dilemma, but people are so deluded that even if they hear this knowledge, they can't accept it, because they can't get out of their mind the idea that they want to be the dominator, the enjoyer, the exploiter, and and try to emulate God in a little way by exploiting people and material assets. So the idea or the reality that Krishna is the cause and effect, this is explained, in second chapter, second canto, 5th chapter, verse 19. It says, the Supreme Lord is the master of the external energy manifested by the three material modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. And as master of this energy, he is ever unaffected by the influence of such bewildering energy. The living entities, the jivas, or individual souls, however, are affected by or susceptible to being influenced by such modes of material nature. That is the difference between the Lord and the living entities. The living entities are subjected by those qualities, meaning goodness, passion, and ignorance, although originally the living entities are qualitatively one with the Lord. In other words, the material modes of nature, being products of the energy of the Lord, are certainly connected with the Lord, but the connection is just like that between the master and the servants. The Supreme Lord is the controller of the material energy, whereas the living entities who are entangled in the material world are neither masters nor controllers. Rather, they become subordinate to or controlled by such energy. Factually, the Lord is eternally manifested by his internal potency or spiritual energy, just like the sun and its rays in the clear sky. But at times he creates the material energy as the sun creates a cloud in a clear sky. As the sun is ever increasingly unaffected by a spot of cloud, so also the unlimited Lord is unaffected by the spot of material energy, manifested at times in the unlimited span of the Lord's rays of the Brahmajyoti. So now, let's analyze now. Let's compare the puny and incomplete and false concepts of the modern scientists and philosophers and what the truth is. The modern philosophers say there's no God behind creation. The creation is either eternal or it happened by chance, by some big bang. And it's going on because there are impersonal forces such as gravity and electromagnetism that has what's called a telegraphic tendency. What does that mean? Telegraphic, look that word up, telegraphic. It means that nature, by its inherent systems, is self-perfecting itself always. And that this is a ridiculous nonsense theory. It has no validity to it at all. It's just a theory. And this is what we were discussing yesterday. The scientists only have theories, but Krishna, and especially the Bhagavad Gita, is not speaking about theories. It is giving the truth, and it's factual. Did you see that? No. Teleograph. Teleo. Is it? You see that? I might be mispronouncing it. Okay. Anyway, these theories mislead people, and they organize their lives based on these false theories. And these theories, and there's constantly theories coming up, more and more false theories. Like most recently, you have the critical race theory, and then you have economic theories, and you have stock market theories, and you have the theory of evolution by Darwin, which is speculation. It's never been proven. Then you have Freudian theories, and you have Marxian theories. They're all theories. A theory is not the truth. It's an assumption made by some clever person, and because so many theories have been proven not correct in all circumstances, like Newton's theory of the motion of macroscopic bodies under the force of gravity. It fell through. It doesn't explain the movement of atomic particles, so they had to come up with the quantum theory. And then there's a string theory, and this theory, and that theory. All these theories are partially or completely wrong. And therefore, people are misled believing that such theories are true. And these theories are taught in schools as if it's science. Did you find something?
Teleology.
Yeah, okay, what is it?
So it says the explanation of phenomenon in terms of the purpose they serve rather than the cause of the cause by which they arise.
Yeah, okay, so teleology, right? Yeah. So in other words, in simple language, what it means is that nature perfects itself, and there's no cause. In other words, there's no God, and nature by itself has this tendency to perfect itself. That's what that is. And this is a nonsense theory. Like, for example, let's say I go to Home Depot and I buy all the materials necessary to build a house, and I purchase land to build a house on. And I take all those materials to my land, I put them there, and then I wait for the teleological development of the house. Will it happen? No. In fact, people realize I'm an idiot, and little by little they'll steal everything. Or those things will deteriorate under the rain, So such theories are nonsense. In other words, nature doesn't perfect itself. does not have any, the material nature does not have any self-perfecting qualities to it. In fact, without the presence of the soul, material nature is dead. And another crazy theory is that a second law of thermodynamics says that in a closed system, there will always be chaos. Things will increase in what do you call that? Entropy, yeah, which means it'll increase in chaos. But yet, in the biological system, it's the opposite. That when there's a presence of the soul in the body, it develops from a little microscopic sperm that's entered into an ovum, which is a nutrient solution, to an entire body. And then the body keeps growing. So biologically, there is the violation of the so-called law of entropy. But it's just a theory, it's not a fact, you see. So we see that although the scientists know this, they still hold to this theory that in a closed system, they say it's a closed system, right? So let's say you have a boiler, and that's a closed system. So they say that the entropy will increase. In other words, the chaotic distribution of the steam or molecules or whatever will deteriorate over time. So anyway, these are all theories, but Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are fact. And one example of it is what was spoken 5,000 years ago was true 5,000 years ago, is true today, and will be true 5,000 years from now. For example, Dāvato visham pumsa sangat tesu bhajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama kroda bhajayate kroda had bhavati samaha 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 vibrama. Anyway, this verse says, while contemplating the objects of senses, one develops attachment for them. And when the attachment increases, it becomes lust. And when lust is not satisfied, it becomes anger. And when there is anger, there is delusion. And when there is delusion, there's loss of memory. And when there's loss of memory, one falls down into the whirlpool of material existence. Kudavad bhavati samaha samaha smriti vibrama smriti bam sat buddhi naso buddhi nasat pranasyati. Now, this was true 5,000 years ago. Is it still true today? What is your opinion? Yeah. Do you think it'll be true in the future? Yeah. So that's Bhagavad Gita. It is eternal truth. True in the past, true in the present, and true in the future. This is different than the theories of the scientists. Their theories are always changing, and they're coming up always with new theories, because the old theories are outdated, right? Just like in computer programming, there's so many different programs, right? There's C++, and there's JavaScript, and there's this one and that one, and they're always evolving. They're never, it's not that this is it, there's no more evolving, no. Because, and it's the same with the theory of creation. It's always evolving, it's never fixed. And nowadays, because they haven't discovered anything new since the 1890s and early 1900s, they come up with theories that are impossible to prove. Previously, you could prove if a theory was right or wrong, just like Newton's laws of mechanics. They finally found out over time that it doesn't apply to all circumstances. So they had to come up with more theories. But nowadays, because they haven't come up with any new discoveries, I mean everything, all the cell phones and the telephones and the radios and the television is all based on electromagnetism, which was discovered by Maxwell and then theorized by Maxwell and then actually put into effect by Jagadish Chandra Bose and Marconi and all these people in modern times, and Tesla. So they're still going on those two types of energies, gravity and electromagnetism. Therefore, the theories they come up with now are impossible to prove. You can't prove if there is a black hole, because theoretically, if you approach the black hole, you'll die, right? You can't prove all these new theories because they're clever enough to make theories now that could take a long, long time to prove or cannot be proved at all. So this is the game they're playing with people, you know. And these scientists, these philosophers, these sociologists, these anthropologists, they come up with theories that are impossible to prove. But people are so illusioned that they believe them, and they base their lives on them. Just like Marx's theory that capitalism will fail and communism will prevail. Well, that may be true in the long term, but communism also fails. So, and we've seen it with the Soviet Union, and we've seen it even with China, which metamorphosed into a capitalistic economy with a communistic rulers. So these types of theories mislead people, and they waste their whole life believing that such things are true, and they lose the real purpose of human life, which is to go back to Godhead. Then again, the idea of the Lord is the cause and the effect is also explained in second canto, 6th chapter, 33rd verse, where it says, "My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So we haven't come to this verse yet. And Prabhupada says, the complete cosmic situation, both in the material and in the spiritual manifestations of the energies of the Lord, is working and moving first as the cause and then as the effect. But the original cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Effects of the original cause become the causes of other effects, and thus everything, either permanent or temporary, is working as cause and effect. And because the Lord is the primeval cause of all persons and all energies, he is called the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita as well as in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 affirms, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. And in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, it is said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bhuta bhava samanvitaha. So the original primeval cause is Vigraha, the personal, and the impersonal spiritual effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, is also an effect of the Supreme Brahman, Brahmanu hi pratistaham, Lord Krishna. So, everywhere in the spiritual and material world, there is the personal and the impersonal, identity of the Lord. So this is explained by Srila Prabhupada in a very profound way, and let's go to that, and we'll see, because these two things, impersonal and impersonal, are existing simultaneously. So, in the second canto, in the first canto, 5th chapter, 20th verse, this point is explained. It says, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Evataro. It's a famous verse, and the translation is, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains, for a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda, or Krishna. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version that the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahman means that since everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahman, or Krishna, nothing is apart from him. Similarly, the part and parcel hands and legs are called the body, but the body as the whole unit is neither the hands nor the legs. The Lord is the transcendental form of eternity, cognition, and beauty, and thus the creation of the energy of the Lord appears to be partially eternal, full of knowledge, and beautiful also. The captivated conditioned souls, under the influence of the external energy, or Maya, are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this as all in all, for they have no information of the Lord, who is the primeval cause. So this is a description of the scientists. They don't accept that God exists. They don't have any information of who God is, although it's available for them. So therefore, they accept that the material world is everything, and that's called empiricism. Empiricism means that the truth is only what you can perceive with your senses. But obviously, there are many things that we don't perceive with our senses because they're limited. But the scientists don't accept that, or at least the empiricists don't accept that. Nor have they information that the parts and parcels of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or leg as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization, detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. The devotee of the Lord, Srila Vyasadeva, knows this very well. He is further advised by Sri Narada to expand the idea so that the entrapped conditioned souls may take lessons from him to understand the Supreme Lord as the primeval cause. So this is why Einstein was not able to finish his work of formulating the unified field theory, which explains how all different energies are working, because he was an atheist. This is why the scientists today just keep coming up with theories, but not facts. They claim that certain things are facts, but even what they claim to be facts are theories. Like, for example, they say that on average the sun is 93 million miles from the earth. Is that true? Well, it's not completely true, because sometimes it's less than that, sometimes it's more than that, because the sun is in a oval elliptic type of trajectory. So, but they make these approximations and they peddle it as if it's the truth. But when you actually study more carefully how they arrived at the so-called truth, you'll see that at the most it's an approximation. It is not exact, you see. And the law of gravity is another approximation, according to the scientists. The law of gravity is also explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, but it's explained much differently than the scientists explain it. So, because Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are fact, and the scientists' theories are at most very loose approximations or false. Okay, so the Prabhupada says here, the effects of the original cause become the effects of the original cause become causes of other effects. So therefore, you have this understanding by modern scientists that there is a unending spiral of cause and effect, and therefore you cannot say that there's an original cause. That, of course, is a theory, and it's not true. But it looks like that because Krishna has what's called infinite energies. Therefore, if something is infinite, you cannot measure it. You never come to the end of measuring it. So because everything that emanates from Krishna is infinite, the scientists cannot find Krishna simply through material, empirical means. They have to get transcendental knowledge, or what's called avaroha panta, descending knowledge, coming from the Supreme Lord. Because our senses are limited. We make mistakes. We have a cheating propensity, and we make mistakes. So therefore, with those four defects, it's impossible to arrive at perfect knowledge. At the most, we can make approximations that may be partially right or completely wrong. And this is the state of modern society today. And that's why no one is really happy, because they're being misled, thinking that we can be independent, thinking that we can be a controller, thinking that we can be the enjoyer. And all that happens is we become more entangled by the material nature and the laws of material nature, and we lose it. And that's what's happening. Society is crumbling now, morally and ethically. And we see it with our own eyes. We know what's happening, but no one has a solution to it. See? And we see our own body is crumbling and falling apart. And we can experience it, and we think the doctors have a solution, but their solutions are not solutions. And therefore, we become anxious, knowing that our existence is going to end in this body. Our soul is not going to end, but of course people don't believe there's a soul. So therefore, they're in complete anxiety. So unless we come to fact and truth, this crazy competition for dominance will continue, which ends up in wars and all kinds of violence. And this constant cascade of theories that mislead people will continue. And this whole educational system, which teaches theories and not fact, will just confuse people. The next generation and the next generation and next generation. Unless people come to accept the following statement. Now, this is a very important statement in the it says the Lord is described here as omnipotent by three energies, Tri Shakti Drik, meaning his internal energy, his external energy, and his marginal energy, which are the living entities. So primarily these three energies are internal, marginal, and external. This external energy is also displayed in the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Similarly, the internal potency is also displayed by these three spiritual modes, Samvit, Sandini, and Hladini. The marginal potency, or the living entities, is also spiritual, Prakritim Vidime Param. But the living entities are never equal to the Lord. The Lord is Nirasta Samya Atisaya. In other words, no one is greater than or equal to the Supreme Lord. So the living entities, including even such great personalities as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are all subordinate to the Lord. In the material world also, in his eternal form of Vishnu, he maintains and controls all the affairs of the demigods, including Brahma and Shiva. This means that someone who has absolute faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will overcome the conditionment by the illusory material energy and go back to Godhead. And all the people who reject the existence of God, who reject the Vedic literature as sources of real knowledge, and just concern themselves with theories and speculations, they will never be free from the cycle of birth and death. And they'll be always suffering birth, death, old age, and disease. Now, it's very hard for people to accept this because we have what's called a false ego that's such inflated by modern education and all these false theories. So therefore, it's a no-win situation for the majority of people. There's only going to be a small number of people who are honest with themselves and reject this modern education, this cascade of theories, and refer to the Vedic scriptures to understand about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how we're all subordinate to Him. And simply by surrendering to Him, we can become freed from this whole illusory material world. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Are there any questions? Okay, Hari Bol. Thank you. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Vando mui savadana mate Jahara prasade bai e baba toriya jai Krishna Prapti Oya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya Arana Koriya Mane Asa Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Utamagati Prasade Bure Sarva Asa Shakshudan Dilaje Janmi Janmi Prabhu Se Chaksudan Dilaje Janmi Janmi Prabhu Se Divya Gyani De Prakasito Divya Gyani De Prakasito Prema Bhakti Chaha Hoite Avidya Vinasajate Prema Bhakti Chaha Hoite Avidya Vinasajate Vedega Janara Charito Vedega Janara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokenat Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya Ebe Asku Shakti Bhuvana Ebe Asku Shakti Bhuvana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora. Nitai Gora Premanandi Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajika Chasta Tarasatara Shishi Shimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samkunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your famous spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya.